cool having all my friends over at my house, and sometimes I look at them and I wonder what that guy's going to do with his life, or I wonder where she's going to go, or what they're going to do, because I've had so many of my friends just pick up and leave one day. Like, they'll be serving out here, we'll be hanging out, and the next day they'll feel like they have a call from God and they need to go somewhere else in the world, to some insane place. And I mean, for example, some of my friends, this guy right here, Tim Shantier, he was actually a kid that was in our high school ministry, our high school group, and he couldn't make up his mind about anything. He was just one of those kids. In fact, I remember one of my pastors was so frustrated with him. He just said, I'm just done with Tim. I don't want to talk to him. He can't make up his mind. He'll say he's going one direction, and I'll encourage him, then he'll go another direction. But then one day he's like, I think God wants me to go out to the jungles of Papua New Guinea and share Jesus with some tribe and learn their language, and on and on. And everyone's like, yeah, whatever, Tim. What are you going to be next week, an astronaut? But then he does it. Then he takes like the next 4 years of his life and he trains up and becomes this missionary. He gets married. They have 2 kids out in the jungle, and he's out there right now sharing about Jesus Christ in some language that he's learned, and he's teaching through the New Testament with these guys. And it's a lot like this other guy, Mike, and his family, the Cratches, man, he's got 3 boys, and he wasn't even a believer when he came to the church. He falls in love with Jesus Christ. He hears some missionary talk about going out and caring for people who've never heard the gospel, and suddenly he's out in the jungle too, and with his 3 boys, his wife's helping out with medicine and helping as a nurse, and amazing thing. And that was about 7 years ago that started. This guy right here, Kevin Oates. Kevin, I've known this guy for years. In fact, we used to go surfing every single week. Every Thursday morning, 6 a.m., we'd go out surfing and just laugh. I mean, just the funnest guy to surf with, and an amazing surfer. But he was also one of those brainiac guys, like just those genius types, where he was in seminary and he was like Greek student of the year type of thing. And he feels called to go to Lima, Peru. And so the guy learns Spanish and moves down to Lima, Peru, and teaches in a seminary. He teaches Greek and Hebrew in Spanish. And his wife, meanwhile, is leading this medical clinic in this really poor area, and and they've got a few kids now, and now suddenly they're feeling like, maybe our work's done here, maybe we need to go to Colombia, and they're thinking about going out. It's just so weird to me, because here's all these people that were in my house, that were hanging out, they're just friends of mine, and suddenly they're gone and they're doing the work of God somewhere else. It's not just the people from the church that go overseas that are doing crazy things for the Lord. What I love about the church is there are people that are right here in the city, and they're doing amazing things. For example, Thomas, who's here, he was a chef partner in this amazing steakhouse. I loved going there because he would just set me up with any steak I wanted, lobster, tempura, the whole deal. Anyways, he really felt called, like God was wanting him to do more ministry, and so he leaves this really lucrative business and he starts cooking at the rescue mission. So he goes from this beautiful steakhouse to cooking for the homeless, and not just cooking for the homeless, but he also teaches the homeless how to cook. He holds classes there so they can actually get jobs as cooks in other places. And then there's Jim, another guy that's here. He actually used to be the worship pastor. I mean, actually, he is still the worship pastor at Cornerstone Church, but he used to be a full-time employee at the church. And then he and this other guy, Ben, who was running the web design at the church, they decide to start their own business because they think to themselves, you know what, we could actually volunteer at the church, save the church a bunch of money. And so they start this business called The Regime, where they design websites and all these other things, and they're actually doing really well, but it enabled them to volunteer at the church. And I know that may not sound like a big sacrifice, but the truth is that they saved the church tens of thousands of dollars. And I could just give you all these examples of people in the church that are just doing crazy things right here in our own city. We have college students that have taken homeless people into their apartments. We have this one kid who said, I'm just not even gonna live in an apartment. I'll live in my car so I can give more to the poor. I had another guy, single guy, who just gave me the keys to his house and said, you know what? I'm more concerned about my treasures in heaven. So here, have the house, sell it, give it to the poor. And I love this because it's going on right here in the city. And it's not just people that are going out of town to do insane things for the Lord. And sometimes it's weird because I'm supposed to be their pastor, yet a lot of times they're more examples to me. Who do you look up to? I mean, when you think about Christians that you want to emulate their faith, why don't you in your group just name some people that you look up to as Christians, where you go, wow, that guy he's done some insane things for the Lord, or she has. Just talk about who you admire most as a believer. And then after that, think about your own lives. And I don't often like to think about life in general, like, wow, what is my life goal? I like to deal with today. But sometimes it is good to think through, okay, what kind of legacy do I want to leave behind? What do I want to be known for? What is it that you believe God created you to do on this earth?